They say when you experience severe trauma, your mind is split. It puts everyday life into one box and hides the moments you can't comprehend in another. So you can continue going through the motions of living, eating, socializing and dreaming without interruption. But it's not a sustainable practice. The more you live in the box of every day, the trauma you've filed away grows restless, agitated that it's not given the same respect, the same room to be seen and heard, to be unapologetically felt. Like a tumor, it fattens over time, leaks toxicity into places it doesn't belong. It sours the everyday until there's no more room to move. The more you live in the box of every day, suddenly and unexpectedly, it explodes. Acid rains down on everything you held dear and interrupts the cycle of what you can and can't handle. You are thrust into the wrong part of your brain, the part that was meant to remain unseen, and you are forced to cope with the previously unsurvivable. Even worse still, or perhaps better, depending on what side of the wall you reside. With long-term, repeated severe trauma, instead of arranging memories into boxes, the mind fractures into several parts of identity. It's no longer a matter of when you will get the opportunity to heal, but a matter of if you ever will. One part of you grows up in ignorant bliss, and another part of you is constantly running away, like a stuffed bunny on a greyhound track, destined to barely escape the chomping maws of predators for as long as they live. Another part of you grows up in a responsive fight, always alert, fists at the ready to tear down anybody who gets close enough to administer pain. There can be any number of identities living between the thick walls of dissociation, and you may never truly know how many parts exist. It's extreme compartmentalization, garnished with amnesia, for the long-term endurance of a vulnerable child. 1.3% of the world's population live like this. That's approximately 78 million people. It's as common as people with naturally red hair, which means if you've known a ginger, you've also known someone fractured into several identities living in the one body. However, they may not have known themselves. That's the game of dissociation, uninterrupted unconsciousness. One fateful autumn night in 2018, our partner at the time introduced each of us to the other parts of self. It took years to digest the news. It was like experiencing a deep loss, the loss of the person we thought we were and would become, and a period of mourning for the selves who suffered through hell on earth, for the child within who never grew older, for the one who had only ever known abandonment and isolation, for our inner caregiver who's never known a moment of rest. The 7 stages of grief took us in all its glory: the denial and disbelief, the guilt, the anger. I'm glad to tell you we've learned to navigate this new normal, achieved a state of acceptance and peace. It certainly wasn't easy. Parts of me have harmed this body we share, with razor blades, liquor, and heartbreak. I don't blame them. Coping is coping, no matter how unhealthy the means. We made friends with the dark, realized we were born from threats of broken noses, empty stomachs, and the kind of loneliness that etches itself into the very core of your being. To rewire our brain to understand that our past doesn't dictate what we do or don't deserve out of life has taken every cell in our soul. When deep damage is all you've ever known, it's hopefulness and the wanting for more that is the most frightful. Taking a stand later in life, telling insecurity and unhealthy patterns to go fuck itself, arguably takes more strength than it ever did to withstand the trauma in the first place. I am proud we are still here. No longer barely surviving, but thriving under the pressure of flashbacks and scars. I used to think happiness was something too far out of reach, a destination I didn't have the skills nor strength to find. But happiness, joy, love, it's peppered into the everyday. It's the small things we take for granted. It's the steam dancing above a morning coffee. It's watching the seasons change through the shades of vineyard leaves. It's the sound of water lapping at the river's edge. And it's the taste of chocolate and strawberries. And if ever again we experience an everlasting darkness like the one we were born to weather, I'd know now that these moments of peace can never truly be taken away. This life we share is messy and confusing and often hurts, but it's always in balance with beauty. I can't control what others say or do to us, but I can control what I hold on to and when to let go. My shoulders are forever bruised from taking on too much too young. I know my limits. They've been pushed to breaking point before. Now I have the voice of an adult, the experience of several lifetimes, and an inner family that is always ready to fight for our right to safety. If I had to do this all again, I would. Being forced to have our mind fractured, split, wasn't fair. But now they are a part of me. And I love me. All of me. Absolutely.